Welcome back to the channel. So, sophomore spotlight, defensive side of the ball. West Saint, Najee Kelly. What should we expect for these two young, up-and-coming, might I say, superstars? But that may be putting the cart before the horse a little bit. But we did see flashes of brilliance, excellence, a lot of things that you would normally see from a freshman guys being able to maybe use their athleticism, use some of their instinct, to go and make some plays. And that's what we saw from Najee Kelly, and that's what we saw from West Saint. Now, on the flip side, we also saw some freshman mistakes, but they're going into their second year. First year in a new system. Interestingly enough, West Saint nor Najee Kelly were able to play under Manny Diaz's type of defense, which again is a defense that I think that we're going back to under Lance Guidry with a little bit more discipline, right? So will there be some growing pains, so to speak, in terms of those two guys getting to the point that they're going, right? But I just want to take a second to talk about these two guys and what I feel like are realistic expectations for the players. Start with Najee Kelly first. Obviously, he could end up being number 1 on the depth chart, maybe number 2 on the depth chart. Really doesn't really matter, because I think at the end of the day, it's more so about who's playing the snaps in crunch time, right? Who's playing those particular snaps? Who's playing those snaps when we need that big stop, along the defensive line? Because I feel like the guys are going to rotate, but again, you're still going to have some guys that you're going to trust in certain situations, right? So, ideally speaking, from Najee Kelly, I think that we should see a guy that, again, takes a step. Does that step lead him to being an all-conference player, third team, honorable mention? Where does that put him, right? Now, obviously, of course, again, like I said, depending on where he is on the depth chart, it doesn't really matter. It's just about, is he going to be able to assume that role that when the snaps are much, much more important, is he going to be on the field, right? Is he going to be on the field? It was a huge recruiting get last year. Again, like I said, Splash made some plays, and we expect big things from him this particular upcoming year. But I do think that a realistic expectation for him is to continue to grow. Again, we're talking about the defensive line. Obviously, it's a lot harder to play on the interior at defensive tackle, and the edge may be a little bit easier, just depending on certain matchups and things like that. But you still have to be a man. You have to be a grown man in a lot of run type of situations. So I see these transform his body a lot, but we will see whether or not he will be able to hold up. So ideally, realistically, I think that an honorable mention on an all-conference team should be a reasonable expectation for us as the fan base when we look at what we could expect from Najee Kelly going into the 2023 season, and then he builds off of that. So, on to West Saint. What do we say for West Saint? West Saint should be the starter. West Saint should be a guy that does not come off of the field. Now, I know some people were talking about amount of tackles in reference to some linebackers a little while ago, but I just the position that West is playing, I think that realistically, maybe 65 to 70 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. I really don't like doing the stats thing, but I'm just kind of think about what could potentially be, available for him. And I think those are modest numbers. And maybe an interception, right? Maybe an interception. I think that his athleticism and his ability to be a traditional or a new age linebacker, being able to play the pass and the run, as well as be able to go and guard a tight end or a running back out of the backfield. I think he should prove to be quite versatile for us in that particular aspect. And I think those are some statistics that I feel like that should be reasonable for him. And I think maybe a third team all-conference nod for him. At worst, honorable mention nod. Again, being very, very conservative with these particular expectations for the simple fact that I know things happen. Certain things like sophomore slump happen. Certain things like injuries occur. Certain things happen like maybe just some things that we just as fans just don't know about. Those things occur, you know. A lot of things are going on right now in terms of NIL, such as brand building, and it's just a multitude of different things that guys have going on now. And I'm not saying it makes it harder to focus in on football, but I think guys just have a lot going on. But those are reasonable expectations, I feel like, for both guys, in my honest opinion. I feel like in order for us to get back to a level, I think that it is going to be imperative that the sophomores that we have, most notably Najee Kelly and Wesper Saint, that they are able to take that level and garner some all-conference accolades, because that means that, hey, these guys are paying off. That means that these particular evaluations are trending in the right direction. I'm not saying that they couldn't both have down sophomore years and then turn it on their last year or their last 2 years, depending on how long they play. But I do think that playing well going into their sophomore season, to me, is a very, very good indication to say that, you know what, we got some guys that we can depend on. We hit on these particular evaluations, and they're going to be leaders going into the 2024 season. So, but those are just my expectations for those two particular guys. Do a sophomore spotlight for two guys on the offensive side of the ball. And then I'm going to come back to the defensive side of the ball and do some guys that may not be getting the shine time that they need, but are going to, in my opinion, play very, very pivotal roles because the season is long. Depth is, we're still trying to figure it out, because depth is not just having bodies. Depth is actually having a guy that can come in and either match that same level of play or just be slightly underneath it. Not a complete another, just the bottom falls out, right? But anyway, man, as always, man, it's all about the you.